Hey, it's Mark Eitel, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show, and you are listening to the Daily Dose. And I'm just in the office doing some show prep for tomorrow's radio show. Shameless plug, will be live at 9 a.m. on iHeartRadio tomorrow. We do the Mr. Mortgage Show every Saturday at 9 a.m. And one of the questions we're often asked is, rent versus own. What makes more sense? I know none of it's affordable right now, but in preparation for that, I started to pull some numbers together just so I have them handy if I'm asked that question. And there's a pretty cool website called Zumper, Zumper. And they have a bunch of rental data for cities all over the country. You can type in your specific area and see what the average rents are. There's actually even rental listings on this website, but I find it super useful. It's easy to use, a lot of good data. My office, my company's headquarters are in Palm Beach Gardens. So I just punched in Palm Beach Gardens. It's shocking, but not surprising because we see it in the news every day, how the rental increases have just been astronomical. And today, Friday, the 8th of July, the average rental price for a 2-bedroom unit in Palm Beach Gardens is, are you ready for this? $2,665. That just really, really shocked me because I'm quoting first-time buyers' interest rates and payments of about that much, $2,600 for a $320,000, $330,000, $340,000 property, depending on things like the HOA costs. And there are still properties available in those price ranges. As a matter of fact, I'm working with a first-time buyer now who's looking at 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes, 2-car garages. Now, granted, he's going to drive about 40 minutes north of his job and going to live in a couple counties north. Nonetheless, he's going to put his kids in a good school district and purchase a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home for he and his family. And his payment's going to be less than that. And he's currently renting and feeling the pinch. So the reason I'm sharing this is a lot of people are hung up on the interest rates right now and wondering if it's a good time to buy. And I get it. A better time would have been last year. A better time yet would have been the year before that. But the reality is we are where we are. There's nobody riding in on a white horse in shining armor to save any of us. The government, the politicians can stand up on a podium on the television and pontificate and promise, and they're going to give us a grant, and they're going to put moratoriums and this, that, and the other thing. But at the end of the day, it's really up to us to make a decision. What is the best way to use that $2,600 a month for my family and I? Is it to continue to rent? And next month, what is that rental number going to be? We've seen ridiculous increases and they seem to be continuing. I mean, I'm reading the statistics on this website and, Palm Beach County had almost a 30% year over year increase in rent, and that's nuts. One of the big advantages of owning your own property, especially with a fixed rate mortgage product, is that payment doesn't change. Granted, slight changes if your taxes go up a little bit or your insurance goes up a little bit, but, basically staying the same. In addition to that, you're building equity. We talked a couple episodes ago. If you're curious to learn more, search back to the episode. I think it's called Earn or Create $100,000 Without Saving a Dime. We looked at a very conservative appreciation rate of just 5% and how a $425,000 home can create over $100,000 in equity wealth in just 5 short years with that 5% appreciation rate. So I just share all that to keep you encouraged. Really, really, really look at what the best way to spend that $2,600 a month is and what it's going to do for you long term. There's no cheap housing out there, whether it's rent or buying a place. And don't get hung up on interest rate either, because the reality is a 5% interest rate is a historically cheap rate and should never deter you from buying a property. It just shouldn't. I had a conversation with someone earlier today, and we were talking about, rate being the reason that they didn't want to move forward. They were preventing themselves from moving forward because they're thinking interest rates are going to drop. And hey, they may drop, but the really cool thing is if they do drop, you can always refinance. And if you refinance in 3 years, you don't have to take another 30-year loan. You could take a 27-year loan. There are very specific loan terms available. We call it a strategic refinance, where there are no broker or origination fees and a specific loan term, so you're not extending your debt cycle out anyway. But that's not what this is about. This is about encouraging you to simply look at budget. And the conversation I had today was around budget. And we were discussing things like car payments, motorcycle payments, RV payments. This individual had a nice car. I asked them, do you like your car? I love my car. What's your car payment? $725 a month. Okay. Now, to me, I'm old enough to remember when that was a mortgage payment, but nonetheless, it's a car payment. I know cars got crazy expensive during the pandemic. I asked him, are you happy with your car? I love my car. Okay, great. So the value or the utility that you receive from that vehicle each month is worth $725. Absolutely. I love my car. Okay, fantastic. What's the interest rate on your car payment? And his face just went blank. He has no idea. He doesn't remember. He walked into the dealership. He wanted that car and he could afford that payment. And they gave it to him. They wrote the loan and off he went with his payment book. I was going to say shoved in his pocket, but that's not how it works anymore. I'm sure they don't even give you payment books anymore. But you get my point. He made that purchase based on the budget. That made sense for him. And here's the really ironic thing. That car's depreciating every month. At least with real estate, it appreciates. But the conversation continued. We looked at credit cards. What's your Visa payment? Oh, I pay $185 a month. But when I asked him what his interest rates were on his credit cards, he didn't know either. But then later we found out that the Visa card was 21% interest. Here we are paying double-digit interest rates on toys and on RVs and depreciating purchases, but we're wrapping ourselves around the axle for a 5.5% interest rate on a purchase. So my point in all that is don't get hung up on rate. Look at budget. If you can afford $2,600 a month for rent, then you can afford $2,600 a month for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, maybe even with a pool in the right neighborhood. And that's going to appreciate and build equity over time. So that's it. That's all I got. I just want you to stay encouraged, because the reality is you don't have to keep that rate forever. And even if you do, a 5 or 5.5% interest rate is an amazingly low rate historically. If you have questions, I'd love to talk to you about all the pros, all the cons, the different strategies and programs. And hey, if you're already working with someone else and you just want a second opinion, I welcome that opportunity too. I'm happy to help. That's why we do this podcast, and that's why we do the radio show each week. So with all that being said, that's all I have for you. Happy Friday. If you like what you heard and you found any of this interesting or encouraging, I'd love you to tune in tomorrow at 9 a.m. Listen to the show live. You can call in, get your questions on the air. That would be super cool if you did that. But yeah, check us out. We're live on iHeartRadio at 9 a.m. Just go to the iHeart app, search The Mr. Mortgage Show. If you want more of the Daily Dose or any of the show replays, go to MrMortgageRadio.com. And always check out the Facebook page. We post super interesting data there every day. Just go to Facebook and search The Mr. Mortgage Show, and you'll find the Facebook page. All right, that's all I have for you. My name is Mark Eitel, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show, and you have been listening to the Daily Dose. We'll talk again tomorrow. Thanks.